have we known each other?
Math. Let me think. I got to
At least 30 years, maybe more, maybe 40 years.
1987 was when I came out here to
35
KGO.
years. Okay, so 35 years. Do you know my phone number, Susan?
No, I don't. No.
I don't know your phone number either. Welcome to Older and Wiser, folks. I'm Bob Bates in Los Angeles, joined as always by my friend Susan Sikora up there in Northern California.
I
So today we're going to talk about that, among other things, including what appears to be a continuously rising level of stress in the world. Apparently, this new survey shows that the world is more stressed out than ever. Gallup did this poll. 120,000 people were interviewed across 122 countries, so you can see why it took a lot of work to compile the data and get the results. The year between 20 and 2021 represented the greatest increase in stress levels in the world ever. Does that surprise you at all? It doesn't surprise me.
First of all, that coincides with the pandemic. You got a virus out there that in the beginning, before the vaccine was available, if you got it, worst case scenario, you could end up in a hospital or in the morgue. Then you got the vaccine, and then it was day to day, and the kids are home. All that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it was a level of uncertainty, and uncertainty creates stress. Right? If you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow,
Yes.
you worry.
Yeah, we are not Zen Buddhists. We don't, be here now kind of thing. We're not living for the moment. We're thinking, what's happening tomorrow, and where am I going on vacation, and what's going to happen next year. So that took a real shift for most people.
Yeah.
The other thing I wondered about though with this was it that we were not stressed as much before, even given those things or taking away those extras from the pandemic? Or was it that now we had time to have to look at it because we couldn't go out and do other things and we couldn't run around as much?
That's an interesting thing to consider, because suddenly we were in our own head more than ever before. We were thinking about how we were feeling, worrying about stuff without the ability to go out and do anything about it or distract ourselves by being out at the office or wherever we were.
Or commuting there or navigating traffic or stuff. I mean, just all of that stuff.
And according to Gallup, this is universal across the globe. All countries experience this spike in stress. In particular,
and so was the pandemic. So was
the pandemic. Absolutely.
And other countries locked down sooner than we did, and more dramatically than we did in the very beginning. And so that time was maybe the universal factor that was there to say, "Whoa, let's look at a few things." I don't know.
Remember Italy right before we locked down? Italy was completely shut down, and we were seeing these reports of these poor people unable to leave their homes. Literally, they wouldn't let them leave their homes. That was a scary time for those folks. So I'm sure their stress level chart began ahead of ours, probably.
Yeah. Well, when you worked out the logistics of that, and at some point, many people, I don't know how many, did. They did because they had to, whether it was working from home and learning Zoom and all that, and having groceries delivered. Once you got that into a routine of its own, you still had this extra time then that you weren't spending running to or from, commuting or worrying about other things or going or meeting. And you had that time to look at it and say, boy, I don't feel great about things.
Right. And that feeds on itself, kind of. Of course, different countries had different experiences, and those played on their stress levels.
Sure.
Afghanistan, of course, experienced the withdrawal of the U.S. and a complete change in government as the Taliban took control of the country, and they reported the very highest spike in stress levels in all the world. And not surprisingly, right? Can you imagine seeing a complete shift in government in which you return to a repressive, conservative government that takes away most or all of your freedoms? That would
Unfortunately,
terrifying.
we can all start imagining that. Um,
This survey was completed, or at least the data was collected prior to the invasion of Ukraine. But imagine the stress levels of the people in Ukraine. It must be beyond anything we can imagine.
you can't, I think there's a level or a limit to how well you can adjust to constant fear, constant anxiety, constant panic.
And to watch this, to witness this from afar, is frightening as well. But we just can't imagine what it would really be like if we were living there.
And the level of hope that you see ahead, I think, diminishes because you're in this and you think, when is this going to be over? And instead of getting better, maybe it gets worse, or it feels worse, or you're more aware of it. And so it feels worse every day, even though maybe it's gotten a little better today than yesterday or last week, but you're so aware of it today than you were 2 weeks ago or last week that you think, oh, gosh, how much longer can I do this?
Well, it's no comparison, I guess, to a government takeover or a war, but inflation is certainly something that affects our stress levels because we're everything costs more.
Don't you hold your breath when you're filling up your gas tank?
I don't look. Yeah, I put the credit card in, and I try not to do the math because it is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and then you take it in the car, and then you look at it's off. But
well, I feel the same way.
I don't go below a half a tank because I know that if I had to fill the whole thing up, I would probably, I'd drop dead at the pump.
I feel the same way about restaurants because I simply can't think about it too much as I'm in restaurants. Because if I do, I just won't go to one.
You mean the cost of
food, the cost of drinks, going out. I met my wife yesterday at a little Mexican restaurant, like happy hour time, about 5:00, to just meet up for a margarita and a bowl of chips and catch up on the day. And as we left, the tab was $83. So there went $83 out of the wallet.
How many margaritas did you drink?
Well, we did have two we had two margaritas, not fancy margaritas, just your regular house margaritas and a bowl of chips.
A piece?
Yeah. So that's four margaritas.
And the
it's
chips.
Expensive. Okay. Admittedly. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying here is, though, that when you go to a restaurant to do anything these days, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you have to kind of almost close your eyes and just try not to think about it. Mm-hmm. According to this new survey, consumers spend 40% of monthly food budgets on restaurants. That's a lot. Now, you're not one of those people, I know, but it is interesting to realize that that's the average, that people are spending 40% of their monthly food budgets on going to restaurants. Mm-hmm. What do you suppose the reason for that is? Because obviously there are cheaper ways to fill your belly than to go sit in a restaurant, but people will forego those options in order to be able to go out and eat with friends.
I think a lot of it is based on what we just talked about in the beginning, which was, I've been through such stress, I deserve a treat. I don't care what this costs. I'm not going to do it every night. I'm not even going to do it this week and next week, every week. I'm just going this one time. I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, I think we've been locked down in COVID for so long that now that we've got a little breathing space, we're relishing the ability to go out, and we don't want to let go of that again.
When you and your wife went out for the margaritas and the chips, did you wear masks?
We were outside, so no.
Okay.
We were
I
on
think
a patio.
That's kind of the California and probably some other places. That's the advantage for California. We don't even have, we do get hot weather now, but we don't have the humidity on it. If it's 85 degrees out, you can still sit out there and have a relatively pleasant time because you don't have the humidity making you feel like you're in a steam bath at 85 degrees.
True.
So you can eat outdoors, and I think that's safer. You don't have to probably wear a mask because you've got
nobody. You know what? I will say this about masks: nobody's doing it anymore. It's only us in Los Angeles and up there where you live near San Francisco. The urban centers are still kind of paying attention to this stuff, but whenever you travel outside of that zone, we were recently up in a rural area of California, listen, there aren't any masks. Nobody's wearing masks in crowded restaurants. They're completely over it. And
were the restaurants, were they kind of outdoorsy in the sense of windows
some
and
of them,
fresh air?
no, indoors and outdoors. No, I think people are dining indoors almost back to full capacity now. They just simply
They're done.
aren't worried. Yeah, they're done. They are
Except
done.
the virus isn't. That's the problem.
The virus is coming back. Apparently, here in Los Angeles, they're already talking about reinstating the mask requirements for indoor
That's up here too.
stores and gyms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could come back, but it will be interesting to see if rural areas are able to reinstate anything, because I seriously doubt that the public, more rural communities, no regulation is going to get people to put masks back on. That's what I'm thinking.
The only problem with it, of course, is that the virus really gets the last word, in the sense that if it becomes a problem again, it accelerates enough, people are hospitalized, people are seriously ill, then you're going to have to react to that somehow. And you've got things that are still going on, like school. Kids are pretty much back in school. I mean, right now it's summer, but they'll probably go back to school. But a lot of teachers who were getting older and close to retirement wanted to do a few more years. A lot of them said, so long, I'm out, because
Right.
I can't stand having the mask on all the time.
Yeah, the masks are tough all day. I don't know if you've had to wear one for more than a couple of hours at a time. As
I have
retired
not.
people, we don't really have that problem so much. But if if you work for a few hours and you're in a space, it's hard to
Yes.
breathe. And
I teach a class to some seniors, and I have to wear the mask. Now the class is only an hour, and I find that even if I'm under one of those really light ones that are not as protective as the other ones. I mean, if I wear the other one, I can't stand it for 5 minutes. It's itchy. I'm gasping for air. I don't know how people do it for 7 hours.
So
like that.
you understand how regular folks who have to be at work every day are just
hard
over the mask, and they figure, and perhaps with some logic, that these days, if you're vaccinated and there are medications that you can take if you get it, the chances of you dying from it it's just not as severe of an illness as it was in the beginning. So maybe we can let our guard down a little, allow ourselves to get it if we need to once in a while.
Although if there's this new variant out, you have to, I mean, I think you're not as sick. I hope I'm not misstating that, so don't quote me, anybody, but I'm not a doctor or a scientist. But it won't necessarily, you're not as protected as they thought you would be with the vaccines, even if you've had all the boosters.
That's right.
That's what I heard.
Right.
So I'm waiting to see, because I fully expect they're going to say, okay, there's another one you need, and you need it now, probably fall.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. I'm looking forward to the next vaccination. Actually, I can't wait. And I want to be more specific to the virus that's out there right now.
Yeah.
All contributing to our stress, I guess. All of this
right,
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You don't live in a vacuum, and so all these things that happen, you react to them because they're happening in your life. It's not like that's happening to the people across the hall, but not me.
Yeah. It's all happening in our life. It's happening to us. We feel it every single day.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, I came across this item in USA Today. The headline, how many phone numbers do you know by heart? And it turns out we don't know. We don't know phone numbers. Hey, do you remember your phone number from when you were a little kid growing up? Do you still remember it?
I think so.
Okay,
yes,
give me just the last 7 digits.
Yeah, I remember I think it was Long Branch 60964. Does that sound right? It could have been the people across the street. Don't call it. It's, wherever it is, you're not going to get anyone. But it'd be Long Branch, because it went to, it actually started with the city. That's how old I am. And then it went to all digits, and then of course,
right. They used to put number. Yeah, they used to assign a letter to the numbers initially to help you remember it. That, I guess, they thought 7 digits was too hard for us to try to remember. But I hate
when they put the name down, and then I got to go hunting for the numbers. I'm thinking, just put the number down.
Yeah, it was printed on the phone dial. like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
T
yeah.
was, we gave you the number. Our number was 8390611. I will never forget it as long as I live.
Hmm.
But yet that number hasn't been used, or at least not by my family, for what, 60 years, probably 55 years, something like that.
Stop
But
doing
yet
the
I
math.
remember it.
Stop doing the math. You're depressing me and you're stressing me.
It's stressing us out. Let's try not to remember how old we are.
You're ratcheting up the stress levels here.
So what does that say about our memory? Certain things get hammered into it, and just ridiculous statistics, things we simply do not need anymore, get hammered into our brain. But I only know my wife's phone number, my two daughters' phone numbers, and those are the only
Because it's
numbers
all
I know.
in here. It's all in the
right.
phones because we've got it right there. Now, if you forget the phone, if you don't charge the phone, if you need something in an emergency and the phone is in the car and you're on a table in an emergency room, you better know some number, and it shouldn't be somebody from your childhood because that's
Well, you're not. Listen, we're not alone in not knowing any of this. According to this recent survey by Whistle Out, which is a consumer-focused website, according to this, 80% of those surveyed have slightly more than a handful of phone numbers memorized. So most of us, 80% of us,
How big is
really,
the hand?
well, let's say five. Let's say 5 digits. Okay, so
I hate to tell you, I know one of my really good friend in the city, and I know my aunts in New
oh,
Jersey.
that's good. That's good. Is this because you've known them for long before the advent of smartphones, probably?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, at
yes.
some point along the line, you had to memorize them. I guess I don't remember actively memorizing phone numbers, but I guess we must have.
I'm one of these people, I hate to tell you, that even if I would get on a plane to go see my family on the East Coast, I would always take a little version of my phone book in my purse.
Yeah, me too.
Always
Yeah, I
had
always
that
had a
with me.
printed
Now
version.
everybody's got that on the phones, maybe, but again, you
Also,
got to be
if
charged.
we actively dialed the number every time we called, pretty soon you would just learn that number.
Right.
Nowadays, we don't actively dial
No,
the
you
number;
push a
we
button
press
and
a button. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's funny here. It also says that 1 in 10 of us can't even remember our own number.
I hate to tell you this, but when I got a mobile phone, the first one, my little flip phone, years and years, decades ago, I did put in, and I noticed everything is alphabetized, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't want to hunt and all that, and I don't have the patience to go through all these. How do you do this? And how many steps for that? That's what I
Oh,
can't
right,
stand.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I do is I would put my phone number. In other words, a number for me or something like that, or A/me, and that would be at the top of the list that way. So if I forgot my own phone number, it was there.
All right. Finally, today we're talking about texting, which is something you've only recently gotten into.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is interesting. How are you? First of all, you've had your smartphone now, I would say 6
1 year.
months?
1 year.
A year. It's
It's
been
been
a
a
year.
year. Yeah.
And did you jump right into texting right away, or did it take you a while?
I had to because my friends from college, I call them affectionately the housewives of New Jersey.
Okay, yeah,
Anyway,
those friends.
we
Yes.
Zoom and they said, you got to text. But then, so I've started texting. Yes. And what's your question about that?
Well, when
I have thoughts.
you have thoughts, okay. I know that there's a lot of protocol that's involved with texting. There's shortened acronyms for things, like LOL means laugh out
Laugh out
loud
loud.
and stuff like that. Although I never laugh out loud at a text and then put LOL. In fact, I don't think I've ever used the word LOL. I say ha ha because I just can't bring myself to use these little acronyms because
I use
I never.
emoji.
Okay, well, let's talk about emojis because that's what this final survey is about. 7 in 10 Americans believe that messages are incomplete without the use of an emoji. And I guess you have to be visually oriented, or what's the word? You just want to play a little game if you
Okay.
like the emojis.
I used to think they were silly, but I'm probably overusing them now because I do find they do A picture is worth 1,000 words, as long as you
Yeah.
choose
What do you use? What's your favorite emoji? What do you use more than anything else?
thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up's
So if
easy.
you say to me, "Do you want to pod tomorrow at a certain time?" If you texted me,
Yeah.
I could type yes and find the letters, or I could just hit the emoji for thumbs up.
How about hearts? Do you use those? Like,
I
oh,
use
love that.
yes, I use a
Yeah.
heart, and I use a purple heart when I'm. That's my sign for I'm done, I'm out, goodbye. Because otherwise, that's the other thing. When does it
Oh.
end? Yes, hi, thank you for the card. You're
Oh.
welcome. Oh no,
Oh.
no problem. Oh no, that's all right. Oh, it was my pleasure. Oh no, really.
Good to know.
End.
I will now know if I see a purple heart from you, we're done.
You're
Right?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm goodbye. That's
You're
it,
over.
bye.
We're over. There are, I did actually, a funny thing about the hearts, I looked up the different colors to try to determine, well, doesn't it all mean love ya kind of stuff? But no, there's actually a variety of different meanings on the
Oh
different
no,
hearts.
what does the purple one mean?
The purple one is actually a sexual attraction. So
Get out of town.
you're indicating as you're leaving the conversation, love you, want to have sex with you, is what you're trying to say to people. So
Who
you
made
better
this
watch
up?
that.
Now, who says? Who says?
Google it up. Google it up. You're going
No,
to
no,
find
no,
out.
no. Google is not the answer because Google is not some person sitting on a rock somewhere. I'm tired of this. You know what? Google, sit down. Wait your turn. Take your number at the deli. That's what I say.
Do you know what the eggplant emoji is, Susan?
I saw it. Yes, I've seen it. There's a whole food section.
Yeah. You know what that means?
I think it just means eggplant.
No, it means male genitalia. So if you're saying, "Oh, I heard they hooked up last night," you would use an eggplant.
Listen, my girlfriends and I that I text with, we're in our 70s.
Well, be careful with your emojis, especially if you're working, dealing with someone you're working with or someone you don't want to use the little kissy face. That's bad.
No, I don't. I wouldn't put that.
Don't
on.
use the tongue hanging out. Don't. There's one that's just a pile of poop. Don't use that either.
I've
That's
seen
not
that.
respectful.
I've used that maybe once or twice, but not often. Only in reaction to something really irritating.
Maybe old people just shouldn't use emojis altogether. Just to be on the safe side. I don't know.
Speak for yourself. I am not too old to use an emoji. I still think the thumbs up is okay. I don't buy the idea that because the heart is purple that I'm trying to have sex with somebody that I'm not.
Okay.
All these rules, they come down from on high.
Yeah.
Now in social media, people go, well, if it's on this, it must be so. No,
Right.
it's not.
Well, good. I
go.
agree with you. I agree
I'm
with you.
cranky. I'm cranky.
You're cranky. Listen, we're about out of time. Before we go, though, we want to get your final thought for the day. What would that be this week?
Use the emoji you want.
Use the emoji you want. You heard it here from Susan Sikora. That's our thought for the week. Hey, folks, thanks for listening to Older and Wiser for all the stuff that matters when you're 50 plus. Visit us at olderandwiser.com. You can watch it there, too. Not only listen, but you can watch the video and see what Susan really looks like as she's
and my
being
cranky face.
Yeah, you'll see her cranky face. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.